Hear, hear.
Hey, Cooper.
Thank you, Mr Desmond. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. And I thank the Honourable Member for Witney for calling this timely debate. It is interesting to hear across the House different members taking a stand on this. I listened to interest with my honourable friend, the member for Stoke, obviously has Bet365 in his constituency, and I listened with interest around his balanced debate and his need to make sure his residents have good jobs, but also to balance those harms. It's really interesting to hear how we can move forward with this. So I very much welcome the government's budget announcements, as we've heard, to increase remote gaming duty and general betting duty as a way to tackle some of our more harmful forms of gambling, particularly, as we've heard, harmful online gaming, something that the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Gambling Harms and many members across this House have championed. This goes cross-party. And this move from the Chancellor goes some way to address the many billions gambling harm costs the public purse. The Office for Health Improvement and Disparities estimates the public health cost of gambling in England alone to be between 1 and 1.77 billion. And this figure captures only a subset of costs. It relies on self-reporting, and the methodology does not include public health costs, including secondary mental health services, alcohol and drug use, lost tax from employment, and the cost of lives lost to gambling suicide. And what's more, as we've already heard, we know that the cost of gambling goes far beyond the affected individual. For every person experiencing problem gambling, it is estimated that up to 6 others are affected: their families, children, employers and community members.
Honourable friend, give way.
I will, of course.
Laura Kirk-Smith.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend for giving way. And on that point about the effect that this has beyond the person who's affected, I was contacted by a constituent, Chloe Long, who really tragically, heartbreakingly lost her brother to gambling-related suicide last year. In his case, the challenge was not actually the regulated gambling industry, as we've been discussing. He was doing all the right things, as it were, in terms of self-excluding, signing up to GamStop, but was still able to access the black market sites, and that's something that we've got to think much more creatively about how we can solve. But does my honourable friend agree that there needs to be much more awareness out there about the risks and just how severe the risks can be of gambling addiction and that devastating effect that it can have, not just on the people that we lose through that, but their families, their children, their friends, but for decades to come?
Thank you, Desmond. I absolutely agree with my honourable friend. I think that she raises the fact that gambling has become ubiquitous, really, in our society. It is endemic everywhere. We watch the television, we have our online roulette in our pockets. It is everywhere, and we need to be mindful of course, the black market as well as the legal gambling companies. We need to go after both with ferocity, quite frankly, to make sure those harms are reduced. Thank you. So, having established the need to recognise the public health cost of the most dangerous gambling products, we should be reviewing the taxation of other harmful forms of gambling, in particular the most dangerous category B3 machines in adult gaming centres. It's only right that the duty paid by the machines is set at a higher rate. And the Gambling Commission, we've already heard about the Gambling Commission, must also do more to ensure that licence conditions are being followed by these adult gaming centres. There are widespread reports of breaches of the rules, notably the 80-20 rule relating to the most harmful category of machine, and games being offered that facilitate much higher stakes than is permitted in the licensing codes. So let's be clear about this. Gambling is highly profitable, and that profit cannot be separated from harm inflicted. We've already heard this, but it's worth stating again. 60% of the industry's profits come from 5% of customers who are either addicted or at risk.
Would my honourable friend give way?
I will, of course.
Can I thank my honourable friend for giving way and for the excellent and very knowledgeable speech that she's making on this subject. One other important piece of context in all this is the men's health strategy, which I know was widely welcomed across the House and was published 2 weeks ago, and which very much identified gambling harms as a key element that the strategy needed to tackle. And clearly we've all welcomed or most of us have welcomed the introduction of the remote gambling tax, and that fits very well within the men's health strategy because it seeks to disincentivise the most harmful forms of gambling. Would she agree with me that that tax was very welcome, and that also we need to make sure that the money coming in via the levy is as well spent as possible to tackle the harms caused by gambling?
I thank my honourable friend. There are points very well made. I think tackling gambling harms should be at the very top of our public health priorities, declaration of interest, I'm a public health consultant, but in terms of ensuring that our country thrives economically as well as health, two are intertwined, we cannot separate them. So just to finish off about the fact that gambling is actually profit cannot be separated from the harm inflicted, just to be put on record for online gambling, 86% of profits come from the top 5% of customers. We've already heard from the Honourable Member for Witney and others around advertising, and again the ubiquitous nature of advertising. A recent report showed that the industry spends $2 billion a year on advertising, a simply astronomical sum which is fuelling a public health crisis in this country. And targeted digital marketing means that someone with a gambling problem is 9 times more likely to be offered a so-called free bet, according to the Gambling Commission. We need regulatory and legislative tools to tackle industry marketing practices, and we must make sure children are protected from the proliferation of gambling ads, sponsorship and influencer marketing. As someone who also has teenage children, I'm only too aware of the fact that responsible mobile phone usage goes so far, but we must also ensure that our children are protected from this just insidious form of introducing people to gambling far too early and far too often. So Gambling Commission statistics show that 1.2% of children experience problem gambling, and 3.4% of 11 to 17-year-olds are already being harmed by their gambling, which is astonishing and outrageous. Children should be receiving independent education about the dangers of gambling, and we must stop incentivising them to gamble through widespread advertising both on and offline. We cannot treat gambling as a harmless leisure activity when 14% of British adults are at risk of gambling harm, and gambling-related suicides occur in the hundreds every year. Gambling is a matter of public health. I appreciate that it's in the Department of Culture, Media and Sport at the moment. I do not think it should be in the Department of Culture, Media and Sport. I think it should be overseen by the Department of Health and Social Care and have a legislative framework that is fit for purpose for the digital age. We've heard about the last government's white paper. It does not give us the right roadmap to address this public health crisis. It does not, as we've already heard, address the fact that councils have no adequate powers to prevent adult gaming centres proliferating locally, sucking the life out of our more deprived communities. It fails to address advertising, sponsorship and the modern marketing of gambling. We must look to review the white paper and set a timeline for a new Gambling Act.